One of my favorite drag queens.
Teresa's here? So like, that's not how that works. And I was like, wait. And then I became
I'll show
on
you.
the stage. First thing you're asked whenever you get to a club and you're a guest is, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? Can I get you a drink? I can't ruin that for myself. So maybe don't drink so much that you forget the preceding day.
There is.
Got it, I think.
I don't think I've ever seen someone move so fast in heels before.
My grandpa used to drive me to school drunk.
Really?
Yeah, and then I got hit by a guy who was drunk in a Cadillac on the sidewalk on my bike. The first thing that I thought was, he smells like grandpa. Hit me with 3 more.
Oh my God, I don't have 3 more.
Call the car! It made me realize that I'm the only person I can rely on. I don't ever want to be a mess. I don't like that. It's not a cute look for a 42-year-old.
Who's there?
RuPaul.
RuPaul who?
Ooh, I'm gonna tell you said that.
Welcome to this episode of Rooted Recovery Stories. I'm Patrick Custer, your host, and really excited to be back after a few weeks off. We are kicking off National Recovery Month with one of my favorite drag queens, a true trailblazer.
Latrice is here? Latrice!
Hey!
Where are you at? She's in Maine.
Just so you thought. Knock, knock, knock. No. Willam.
Yes.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. For a long time, I've been a fan of General Custer's Last Stand, and it's nice to see Mr. Custer's first sit.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will not lay claim to anything that the General did or didn't do.
You know, I love his work. General Tao, General Mills.
Oh, I love me some General Mills.
All the generals.
I love General Childs.
General Stores.
General Dollar General.
No, they went under, I think. They all closed in LA.
Oh, that's because it's LA. They're headquartered here, and you go outside the city and you can't go like 2 miles without like hitting another one.
Did you know what you were getting into, Patrick? Did you?
Oh, I like to live a life. Well, I was going to say on the edge, but that's not true. But without expectation. So
yeah, it leads to less disappointment. I get that.
Yeah. On the other side that I like more, it also leads to more surprises. And I love being surprised.
Me too.
And I feel like that's what brings the thrill into life.
Sometimes I tell people to set the bar low, but then I'm like, then we can't limbo.
Good point. But you can always, if you set the bar low, you can always continue to raise it, right?
Girl, I will just walk over the bar and say, done.
Yeah.
I'm not playing the game. I'm 42. I'm not bending over backwards for fun.
Well, Aaron, you might want to pop the limbo bar up a little bit. You're fine. I just want to make sure that everyone is appreciating the shoes that are on Willam right now. They are probably some of the most extravagant, classy, expensive heels that I've ever seen in my life.
Well, yes.
I mean,
it's a family heirloom.
Here's what's special about him too, just so you know, Patrick, is I asked Willam, I love the dirt accents, and he said that did not come on the shoe, that was from activities.
Yeah.
The dirt accents aren't.
No.
They're everything they're supposed to be. I mean,
I always think it's good to root the glamour with a joke somehow, or something humorous or a good talking point, because I don't want to give people a glamour overload, because I am aware of how gorgeous I look and how other people can feel about that. So I just want to give them something relatable, because that's what I do.
I definitely can relate to those feet.
I'm also a baker. I make humble pie. I don't need it though.
Did you bring us anything?
No.
Oh,
no,
God.
I gave it to some ugly girls. I said, here, eat this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Bianca Del Rio better watch out.
Speaking of ugly girls.
That's what I was gonna say. Actually, she's pretty funny, but I wouldn't call her a glamour comedian.
She's always very well put together. I think of Bianca like not a Hedy Lamarr, a Jane Russell, like a attractive, like not sturdy. That sounds insulting. An attractive, well put together woman, but not a pretty woman or a sexy woman. And she's not interested in being that.
Right.
But like, she's always so clean and so beautiful. She's one of the last people I've texted on my phone, because I was in Palm Springs yesterday. I was like, hey girl, you in the desert? But she's on her world tour.
Of course she is.
Yeah, but I love Bianca. She's great. And she hated me at first.
Really?
And it's because of something I did when I was drinking that she hated me. because we were backstage at the season 5 finale or opening of Drag Race, and she was there, and I was like, who are you? I was drunk, but like they were trying.
Did you really? Do you remember this,
yes.
or did you?
Because she told the story. And
you
she
really
said,
didn't know who she was.
I live in LA. She was a New York girl.
Yeah.
She wasn't on TV yet.
Gotcha.
This was one season before her season.
Yes.
And she was hosting the party for Voss because she's always been a great drag queen and an in-demand host. And it was my job that night they thought, to be on stage with Vicky and Detox, but no one could find them when they wanted them on stage. So I was waiting backstage. No one could find them. Like, where are they? I was like, I'm not their handler. I don't know. And Bianca was there, and I was like, who are you? She's like, I'm Bianca. I was like, oh, cool. I'm hosting. I was like, okay, great. And that's all it was. And just from me being like drunk and rude, not even rude, I was just like, who are you? Because we were in like a 6x6 tented off wings corner, and it was close quarters. I was like, who's this girl? Mm-hmm. But she said that's the reason that she auditioned for Drag Race was because Willam and Sharon were to her. And I stopped drinking about a year after that. And it's nice to be able to remember things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, I can agree that it is very nice to be able to remember things. So you've been sober a minute.
I haven't had a drink since 2015, around this time, because it was Burning Man / Southern Decadence. And the reason I stopped drinking was because I was tired of wasting my money.
Oh my God. Is there a gnat?
There is.
Got it, I think.
I don't think I've ever seen someone move so fast in heels before. I mean,
What good content that would be.
Yeah, so I got off of the sauce because I wanted to it gets harder the next day as you get older, I think.
yes.
And I was like, I really need to pick my vices. I'm in my 30s now. So I cut alcohol, and the vices that I chose were men, gambling, tanning, and...
So, wait, are you still tanning?
No.
I was going to say, you don't look like you're abusing your skin.
No, I have a
anymore.
natural like glow from Palm Springs, but I stopped laying in
Right.
beds and frying myself because my Botox guy was like, "Ugh."
No, there's a certain point where it catches up and you're like, oh, this is doing something to my skin more than just giving me a glow.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm speaking from experience. I know, like I had to stop too.
You radiate beauty.
Yeah.
That wasn't a read, but it sounded like one.
Yeah, no. But I'm laughing because I'm like, you radiate beauty until it's more than just that.
Until you need radiation for the beauty.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about. So clearly, we've touched on a couple things that, like, I could not, if I even tried, in an introduction, even just do like a short little highlight reel of. It wouldn't even be fair of some of the most awesome things that you've done in your career, because there are so many. The list is more than a mile long. But you have just you've chased and succeeded at so many different things in the entertainment industry.
I'm glad it looks like that.
Well,
That's important.
it definitely does. At least the internet says so. And, as far as the consumer world sees it, you've had a lot of accomplishments. And so I'm curious though, from a young age, I know you were like making clothes. Is that right? Is that what started your...
I wanted to be a customer, and people were always saying, oh, you should be a fashion designer. I said, these are for me. Like, I want to wear these. I am the girl in the photo. You may not know, but I am. And then from there, I started like helping out at a local theater, and I was like,
who taught you to sew? Because did you...
My grandma. Just my dad, actually, too. My mom didn't sew, but my dad did the buttons and the socks when they had holes or whatever. And then in first grade, I wanted to make a teddy bear for a school project, for my art project that year. And I was like, I'll glue it together, the felt. And my teacher was like, no, you need to learn how to sew if you want to do this. So she taught me a whip stitch. And that was my first grade teacher, Miss Cosi. And I've known how to do it since. And then I was 13 helping on Jesus Christ Superstar for like a summer theater production at my local town. And I was like, the costumers should really get to go out on stage. These costumes are great. We should get some applause. They're like, that's not how that works. And I was like, wait. And then I became someone on the stage.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, wow. And I love that your parents were like, support. It sounds like they were supportive of your endeavors there.
Yeah, my dad had a gay brother and a gay sister, and my mom wrote in my baby book that I was gay when I was 3.
Wow.
She's like, he walks on his toes. He's either going to be a ballerina or he's gay. And she was right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, mothers know.
You did both. You continued to do both.
Well, I did both in the essence of like, I was like, in my head, I was definitely...
Sorry, I meant walk on your toes and be gay. I didn't mean...
I thought you meant ballet.
But did you do ballet?
After the movie Center Stage, I could have sworn that I was a ballerina myself, but I was not Zoe Saldana Black Swan.
Well, you were many other things, and that's okay.
Many other things.
Yes, yes. Your mom wrote that in the baby... As your mom wrote that in the baby book, did that feel like a gift at the time that she wrote that and that it was fine? Or was it something that at first...
When she wrote that, I wasn't a voracious reader, being as I was 3, but I was able to see it when I was an adult years later. And it was nice to know that like they were cool. There's a Chappell Roan song where she's talking about like, no one ever told me I couldn't get the things that I wanted. And like, I think that's why I'm overconfident, because they were always like, you can do anything you want, go for it. And like, I kind of have a lot of things.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying.
I've gotten. Which is why I feel greedy, like praying for more opportunities. So I'm trying to like give back and like create other opportunities for other people now that I've like cracked the glass ceiling. It's time to yank bitches up by their ponytails.
Well, and this is a perfect segue. I'm going to loop back around like a true ADHD. I had a
segue. Did you see those videos of me on the Segway?
No, but I'm going to look them up now.
They're great.
We
it
might
was
even
before the hoverboards.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So other kind of segue here. I really admire when someone in any position of leadership, but especially one that has been granted, power of any sort, recognition, advancement, but especially those of us that are like in the gay, a female, of a different color than white, the different populations that aren't just as easily doors are opened, right? That when success is achieved at any level, that while you continue to strive to thrive more, you're reaching back to grab the hand of others behind you and pulling them forward. And I think that's one of the things that you've done as well with supporting people on your podcast network. Moguls of Media. I love it.
Thanks. I feel like to those, much is given, much is expected. Yes. And I feel like success is more fun with other people. Alaska, my co-founder of Mom, says it's more fun to be in the Supremes than just be Diana Ross. And she's right. I think like I love group shows and working with people more than just trying to like get a bunch of shine for me, because I feel like I give off sidekick energy. I'm not main character energy, because you can only take me in doses.
Looping back to like chronologically, going back to teenage years, and you saying like,
so last
screw
year,
that. I want to last year. God, you've accomplished so much in one year. You said, I'm going to be out there on the stage. What'd you do when you decided, like, if they're not going to let me, the production crew go out there, I belong out there too?
I put myself in a position to make those opportunities more available for me. I started auditioning for stuff. I got emancipated when I was 16, moved to New York, started trying to act and do things. And then when I was a kid, I saw my uncle on Alf. And I was like, how'd you do that? He's like, I live in Hollywood. I went to the audition. I got the job. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. And then I did that.
Wow.
But first I went to New York, got my SAG card. Then I moved to LA. And the first job I was ever on, the director was thumbing through headshots and said, that's my nephew. Why didn't he tell me he moved out here? And I told her I was going to. I didn't tell her when though. And I didn't want to like try to like hit up my aunt who's got like Emmys for directing. Be like, I need a job. I wanted to like do it on my own and see what I could do. And she hired me for that job. And it was like background work on her show, The Hughleys.
Wow.
She was doing. And it was one of my first jobs in LA, and it was super fun. And from there, I met a girl on set who was like another punk in the scene with me, and she got me an agency appointment. I booked the first agent I went to, And then I feel like work begets work if you just keep working and then like you stay in good with the people that hired you and make sure you're a pleasure on set and like you make people want to work with you. So even if you're not right for the part, they remember it for something else. And like,
I think that's really good advice for life and work, period. No matter if you're in entertainment or not.
I don't want to like toot my own horn, but I do play a woodwind.
And we just happen to have one, right?
Give me that Barry sax. There's a few people in the entertainment industry, some who even have their own shows, who do not with me. But they don't with me for their own reasons. Everybody else from their show still with me, still likes me, still works with me. There's a reason I'm working at all these clubs 12 to 13 years after I started doing it. It's because people buy tickets to see me because they want to see me, because they like how I make them feel for whatever reason, be it from when I take pictures with them or for what I'm doing on the stage. Whatever reason it is, people like me, and I'm grateful for that. And I just want to keep pleasing people and like doing my job, because I feel like being in the entertainment industry is like the service industry. People trust you enough with their time and their eyes and their ears to put your content in their face when they could be doing a vast number of other things, but they chose me. So it's my duty to make them laugh and to make them entertained. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But that's what I feel like. And I take it seriously, kind of like I can't ruin that for myself. So maybe don't drink so much that you forget the preceding day. So I stopped the drinking.
Yeah.
And I don't do that much Lil' Kim anymore. I've moved on to like City Girls.
City Girls.
Yeah, although they've disbanded too. So now I'm just doing JT. She's got a song called Okay.
Well, okay then. So tell me about what led up to the process of you getting on. Because I think that where you came on the scene and so many of us got to know you was when you did RuPaul.
Yeah, Drag Race for me was one of those things where it was there and I knew about it because in season 1 they had asked me to do it, and I was like, okay. Then they said you need to make a tape, and I was like, can I just come in and like talk to you guys? I've worked for World of Wonder multiple times before that. I was on a Bravo show called Show Dogs, Moms and Dads for them, where I had to re-record RuPaul's Supermodel song because they didn't want to pay the fee that it would cost to use it, because RuPaul doesn't own the song. The guy that wrote it,
really,
the guy that helped to write it and produced it, he owns it. So
interesting.
They got me to re-record it, paid me scraps. And I was like, can I just come in? And they're like, no, you have to make a tape. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm an actor. Cut to 3 seasons later. But everybody also said that. I wasn't a snob about it. Like all the Dream Girls, Chad, Delta, Raja, all of them said no at first. And then 3 years later, I was going in for a show and the casting people said, we're only seeing names at this time. I was like, oh, okay. And the people that got it were Shangela.
Wait, what does that mean? Only seeing names?
The casting people were only seeing people who brought a level of cachet and recognition by just saying their name.
Oh, okay.
They didn't want nobodies. That's what they were saying to me. They booked Shangela, who had just done Drag Race, and Chris Crocker, or Cara Crocker now. So I was like, oh, I need to do something to raise my level of notoriety.
Cara was on Drag Race?
No, this was a TV show.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That I probably didn't explain it enough. There was a TV show that was casting, and I tried to get in for it, and they told me they wouldn't see me because I wasn't a name.
Gotcha.
And the people that they did see and cast were Shangela, who had just done Drag Race, and Cara Crocker, who was an entirely different person before that, due to the Leave Britney Alone with that notoriety and status. And I was like, oh, I got to do something to up the ante a little bit. So at that point, randomly, a week later, Drag Race casting called my manager, and they're like, they'd love to see something from you, a tape. So I made a tape, and Matthew Anderson, RuPaul's old makeup and hair artist, says I was the first person on the board for season 4. I was the first person cast. So that was cool to know. But then later I found out that gig that said no, they wouldn't see me because I wasn't a name. I found out they wouldn't actually see me because they said I was a nightmare on another set, which I was like, what? That's not true. I wasn't drunk. I didn't bite anybody. What the did they mean nightmare? I was swinging on a swing and singing the whole time. It was an HBO movie. I was like, what the fuck do they mean I was a nightmare? So people are going to talk about you no matter what. So at least if they talk about you, the first thing that they can't say about me anymore is, oh, she was so up, because I'm not at work no more. So they could be like, oh, she trash. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's when they're not talking though that you really got to worry.
So, what was your experience looking back? How would you reflect on your experience on Drag Race now?
My attitude is gratitude, because I probably wouldn't be sitting here if I wasn't on Drag Race, because it was such a highlight for drag and what I do and shades of what I could do, I think.
Sure.
With the platform.
Yeah.
It was like a giant platform, and then I jumped into this pool, and instead of like swimming up to the bar, I did laps, and I worked a lot and constantly and was tired for a decade straight. And now I get to enjoy some of that work by like giving back to other people and creating new things and trying to like use my gifts to make the world a better place instead of just trying to elevate me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like that's more satisfying at the end of the day. I was like I can just go to bed knowing I've done good.
Yeah.
Somebody's bad.
Somebody. You travel a lot. So because my brain works the way it does, I want to go back to something and ask you a question. You said you were emancipated at 16. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
I was emancipated when I was 16 because I figured out that the public school system is rigged for a 4-year program. You usually don't need as many credits as you can get in the 4 years. There's always electives and whatever, and you always end up over. So I was like, if I do a little night school and a little bit of summer school, I can do all of high school in 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I did. And then I was done. And when you're done with high school, you usually move on to other stuff. And I knew I wanted to be an actor or famous, not an actor. I just wanted to be famous. And Central Florida was not the place to do that.
No.
So,
what?
Yeah, I got my parents to go to court with me and help me with my emancipation because I'd been working since I was 12 and saving. I could obviously survive on my own.
So the emancipation process was, how did that serve you? Is it something that because legally you have to be emancipated in order to be able to like do things on your own before you're between that 16 and 18?
If you're under 18,
yeah,
you need a guardian on set to work. And my parents weren't going to move to New York for me to do extra work. So they helped me get emancipated. And after that, I think my second or third job was Sex and the City. And I was in a thong, thigh-high boots, and a little piece of fishnet. And I started talking, and somebody had found out that I was not 18. They were like, what? I was like, oh, I have my emancipation papers, literally. And I pulled them out, and they're like, okay, we guess this is okay.
Interesting. Okay, so emancipation of
Willam.
You used, and I love that you reference, attitude of gratitude, because it was a launch pad for you you were already working your tail off in the entertainment field, but having that boost behind you of what Drag Race did, I can only imagine opened doors for where you could do more.
It definitely made people more aware that I was there, and they're like, oh yeah, I know her from this, or I've seen her on that. But the things that opened the door most for me was my ability to hit record on a camera and do YouTube, because the kids were watching YouTube.
Really?
And I was like a 30-year-old YouTuber.
Were you in the early?
I started my YouTube account in 2008. And I've been shadow banned for like 4 years now, but I'm set at 938,000 subscribers, and it won't go up or down. It goes down like 1,000 like every few years randomly, and I'm like, yeah, shadow bans don't exist. They exist.
How are you permanently shadow banned? Do you know?
Have you seen my content?
Well, yes, but not all. I mean,
I don't know what it is, but I am not.
There's a lot.
I'm not suitable for children, apparently, and I'm not trying to be.
I know, but here's the thing. There's a lot of content like that on YouTube. And it's because we're on YouTube too. You've got to put the denote like all the stuff in there. Is this suitable for children or not? And I mean, I could see you getting in trouble if you say it is suitable for children and then it's clearly not. But yeah, no, I think the whole shadow banning thing is very intriguing to me right now, because we could go down a major rabbit hole of that, but
the things that opened the most door was my ability to make people laugh through music. I think with Boy is a Bottom, and then Chow Down at Chick-fil-A was like a protest song, literally, that we were just accidental activists for. And then Chick-fil-A and all of their nasty donations to right-wing people popped up, and we were singing about it, and it kind of worked. And then we were booked for years, and I'm still singing the songs.
Right.
You know? People like them, so I do them.
They do. I love that you take it back to what truly is like you just were relentless in being a hard worker and saying like, I'm going to do it. People might know who I am, but I'm not going to just take what's given to me because of people saying yes or saying no. When you found a way to do things yourself.
Where there's a Willam, there's a way.
There you go.
That's why my book is called that.
I love that. Yeah. When did you come out with your book?
My book came out in 2016. It was October 16th, 2016. And I did a massive book tour on my own. And as a first-time author, I sold more than 50,000 copies, which was pretty good. They said I missed the New York Times bestseller list by like less than 100, more than 10.
That's really rude. I would have not wanted to know that.
I'm glad I knew it because it gives me something to shoot for next time and makes me know that, because last time I was going to buy a bunch of copies, but then I was like, nah, I can just get them from the publisher cheaper. Next time I'll buy them retail.
Yeah. Pull a Taylor Swift. This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admission center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help. So I want to know if you're like, are you able to pinpoint or articulate a specific point in time or area of your life where there was some type of void that you began to start filling with alcohol?
Yeah, I definitely would get to a club and think to myself sometimes, the first thing you're asked whenever you get to a club and you're a guest is, what are you drinking? What are you drinking? Can I get you a drink? You want a drink? And it became one of those things where I realized it was sometimes easier to repeat the same thing over and over and over if you were inebriated. So that's what I was doing a little bit. And then I would lose my fingernails because I would have to untuck and like deal with draining the lizard because I was drinking so much. So then I just switched to shots because it's not as much liquid. And then I wouldn't have to deal with pantyhose and tights and like tape and all this stuff and the gaff and the thong. So I started just doing shots, and the shots got me fucked up. And then I'd be like, ooh. And then the shots never taste as good coming back up as they do going down. And I really hated cleaning throw up out of my wigs. Sometimes they weren't even my wigs. But that's when I realized there was a problem, when I was scrubbing vomit out of costumes, where I was like, you don't even like Jaeger. Why did you say yes to this shot? Because now it's on your outfit. But the cost of that the next day, or in not remembering stuff, or putting your foot in your mouth, got to be too much. So she stopped.
So putting your foot in your mouth happened more than just once or twice?
Oh yes. Yeah, I've mended my ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did that answer the question?
It did answer the question. I'm curious though, because people drink to the point of having negative consequences for various reasons. And oh, go ahead.
When I stopped drinking, it wasn't because it had affected my life to the point where it was hurting me physically, career-wise, or anything else. I hadn't done anything that was like, oh, there was no realization. It was literally, I was at Burning Man and I was dehydrated and like I wanted this pill to work better. So it's made my life so much better, but it was a happy accident. I'm not like some evolved creature. I'm a messy drag queen. And the world needs those because it makes normal people feel better about themselves. And we're fun to watch and look at.
Well, I think that it's also a good example so we need more people sharing their story about, because it's just as impactful to hear that I stopped drinking because, I realized this could be more positive for my life and I wanted to be healthier. Because we do have many stories like my own personally that like I did have many life consequences, right? And that were negative. And so there's a big contrast from like somebody that is experiencing the consequences in every area of life like me versus you, where you were functioning in virtually in all, in everything you weren't having, but kept going after you decided to stop drinking. And to this day, you're still like, I am happy that I chose to do that. And I feel like, how would you describe today the way that you feel and what you feel about, like physically, how do you feel differently than you did back then today? And how do you reflect emotionally on like the fact that you made that choice for yourself?
Emotionally, I'm kind of detached from the emotion part of it. I was looking at it from a clearly technical point of stopping drinking, but I know that I'm physically all the better for it. Mm-hmm. My skin has way more elasticity than a normal 42-year-old does because I'm not poisoning my body. And alcohol, I've seen what it does on my whole family's been in rehab a bunch of times on one side, the other side. My grandpa used to drive me to school drunk.
Really?
Yeah. And then I got hit by a guy who was drunk in a Cadillac on the sidewalk on my bike. And the first thing that I thought was, he smells like grandpa, because it was whiskey.
How old were you?
When I was hit by a car, I was in 6th grade, so 12 or 13.
What happened to you physically? Like, were you like hurt?
I was on the sidewalk crossing over a driveway into a condo in Florida. This guy hit me. My sister was ahead of me. The only reason I was on the bike ride was because I had skipped school because a chorus line was on HBO and I wanted to watch it. And when my mom got home from the hospital that she worked at, she saw I was clearly faking. She's like, go outside, get some exercise. So 20 minutes later, she gets a call that I was hit on my bike, thrown 20 feet, bloody face, glasses broken. And she has to go back to the hospital where she works to get me out of the ER, where they stitched up my face and stuff. So she was not happy. But I got a little trust fund out of it because I lied. I was like, my knee hurts. My face is ruined. I cried in court. Acting.
I mean,
acting.
I would say if you get hit by somebody drunk, I'm like,
see, I did not feel bad.
As a child, if you get hit by somebody in a car, drunk or not, I feel like you deserve some financial compensation to secure your future.
Well, yes. But
also,
also, he did not get arrested or brought up on any charges or anything. I remember being in the ambulance thinking like, wow, that guy's going to go to jail. He hit a kid on his bike drunk. Nothing.
Wow.
They're like, oh, he was just confused. He's old. And I was like, he's drunk.
Wow.
Yeah. It is the one reason why I've never gotten a DUI probably, because I was like, this is tacky and it can hurt other people.
Yes.
Like, I can do bad all by myself. I don't need to hurt other people.
How did that make you feel when a system that's supposed to protect you, I mean, you got a settlement out of it, but at the end of the day, you're being raised in a world where I'm assuming your parents may not have, my parents raised me and said, like, we have a legal system to protect you. This is what police are for, blah, 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 that you have your worldview where you're thinking, right? So I'm assuming you went to court thinking that what you said, this is supposed to happen in the world that as I understand it.
Well, when I went to court, I knew it was only a civil matter because we had to sue for my medical bills, the ambulance ride, to get my face fixed, to get my knee done, my physical therapy, all these things. So I had already knew the system failed me at that point because there were no criminal charges for him.
Wow.
Because there was no field test administered. So he didn't even get his license revoked.
I'm just curious, like, are you able to articulate like how did that affect you from the standpoint of growing up in this world, the things that are supposed to keep me safe outside of my parents? Mm-hmm. Like,
I think this affected me because it made me realize that I'm the only person I can rely on. Mm. And I figured out a game plan from there, which was to lie in court and to cry and to get the judge on my side and get some money. And I got my bag, and then I took it to New York and became what I became.
Yeah.
Bought a car, drove across the country, drove that car into the ground in LA. So like it helped fund my career.
So it's interesting that you said your mom was freaking, that she was not happy. And my reflection was, wait a second, why wouldn't she have been like the overwhelming concern? Oh my God, my baby, is he okay?
Once she knew I was okay, she was not happy because I had stayed home from school. I was lying to her to skip school, and none of this would have happened if I hadn't have done that. So domino wise, the first domino that fell was by my hand. It wasn't hers. She's a nurse. She knew I was fake and being sick. She had to go back to, nobody wants to go back to work after leaving work on a 12-hour day. So I think she was there like 6 to 6. And then she was home and she made me and my sister go out for a bike ride. And she wasn't being a bad mom. I love my mom. I love my dad. We're great. What was the question?
Well, I was curious about like what your perception was of her reaction to that news and how that made you feel. Like it sounded tough. Yeah.
It was the drunk driver's fault, definitely. But I feel bad that I interrupted my mom's peace with this bullshit. And it wasn't my fault, but it was definitely bullshit.
What is, like, subsequently was there a narrative like that you tied to alcohol after you realized this dude smelled like, was it Grandpa you said?
Yeah.
And like what?
I've always had a very precarious relationship with substances. My grandparents owned a bar in Philly. Another set, not the drunk driver grandparents.
Okay.
Another set of grandparents owned a bar in Philly. And I had my first drink when I was 6. And the rationale behind that was it's got fruit in it. Let them try it. Blackberry brandy. And so by the time I was like probably legal age to drink, I had drank enough for like 2 lifetimes. And I never really liked it. I drank like amaretto, Malibu, anything sweet. I didn't like the taste of alcohol, but I liked being drunk. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. But most of one side of my family, 3 out of 5 kids have been to rehab. On the other side, can't even count. Like, it's substance addiction is a problem in my family. I hadn't experienced it yet, really. I was doing in vitro fertilization and I had to piss clean for like 3 months, so they knew I wasn't smoking or doing anything. And I stopped smoking pot. And did I Jones ever? Yeah, but it wasn't anything where I was like, you have willpower, you cannot pick it up. I quit smoking. I have 1 cigarette a year. That was easy because I just stopped buying the cigarettes to smoke. And if you do not have them, you cannot smoke them. But everybody's on their own journey. It took my sister like 24 years to quit.
Yeah.
And it took her getting MS to do so because apparently nicotine or smoking is one of the things that
it can really screw with your whole nervous system, the nerves. Yeah.
So I am just cautious about like letting my party inhibit or restrict my lifestyle or make my party someone else's problem. Mm-hmm. I don't ever want to be a mess. I don't like that. It's not a cute look for a 42-year-old.
Well, and I feel like you have this zeal for life that I feel like you like being alive, and I can see you wanting to be you might be the Dolly Parton of drag queens, out there at, 70. How old is Dolly now? 70?
I think she's 78.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. I'd like people to remember the good about me and not the bad things I've done. And I'm working to put up more W's than L's now.
I like that.
Thanks.
We're big fans and love GLAAD here on our show. And I know you've done some stuff with them before. I'd love to talk a little bit about
the gay and lesbian Alliance Against Defamation is an important thing because a lot of the representations of LGBTQIA people to the masses is through television and entertainment. So when people see horrible versions of LGBTQIA people as characters on their TV, that's their information that they're taking in. And then it leads to negative idea about those people. So in the same way that that you can't say hot tranny mess anymore, because it's the same thing. GLAAD has worked to like eliminate that unconscious negativity that like, oh, straight people are like, oh, we'll make the gay person the killer and they'll be a cross-dresser too. Like GLAAD has come out and been like, no, let's do a test where we see if this is suitable, like if accurate representations of LGBTQIA gay people are out there. And I think they've done a really good job at it, especially recently.
I would agree.
Yeah.
And I think that like being a spokesperson for their cause and and a lot of us are when and where we can, because they need it. They're a nonprofit, and they do such good work. It boggles my mind. Recently, I was looking at some of the major things they were responsible for pushing, and I can't rattle them off. But by holding all the like media sources accountable for exactly what you were talking about, I would say maybe not single-handedly, but they are in the majority of the reason why we have seen advancement since Will and Grace being on TV, from that being the show we all grew up on and knew, to where we are today. We've got a long way to go, but their events are absolutely wonderful. And
thank you, Sarah Kate.
Yes, they're great. And Anthony Allen, Ramos, yes,
yeah, Ari Getty,
Tony, love them. So, will you be at are you planning on going to any of the GLAAD awards in the spring?
I go whenever I'm invited and available.
Okay.
Because they're always a great time.
They
think the first one I went to, Kim Petras was 10 feet away from me singing, and I was like, this girl needs no auto-tune. She is amazing. Who is she?
Is it not so crazy? Her voice, just side note, her voice sounds like it's being auto-tuned, like in a good way.
Yeah. I've done karaoke with the girl.
It's insane.
It was her, Adam Lambert, me, a few others in like this little Koreatown karaoke room. And I walk in and she's like, hey, I'm Kim. And then hands me the mic and I'm singing Whitney Houston with her. It's like my life. And I'm not drunk enough that I'll remember it the next day. Blessings.
Yeah. That's amazing. And that doesn't surprise me at all about,
yeah, she's so cool.
Yeah.
All the hate that she's had to deal with, I think has really toughened up her skin. Because she was the youngest person in the world to transition at one point.
Yeah.
And like she had legally had to fight to be able to do it. So she's like a little warrior princess to me.
She is.
And such an inspiration. And her music is great.
And her bounce back from COVID as well. I remember watching all of her stuff through COVID, and then just I think that her resilience is something to be admired also. But
I think her resilience combined with her brilliance is her Braziliance. And it should be commended. You're right, Patrick.
Yes. But that could be said just about you as well. So.
Well, yes.
Yes. Okay, so I want to yep, we're out of time, but I want to
hit me with 3 more.
Oh my God, I don't have 3 more.
Call the car.
No, but I do want to ask you, for the person that is, or people, I will say people, but I kind of say person because sometimes people are tuning in thinking they're the only one that's probably, listening to the end of an episode and feeling alone, but they've resonated with your story. Like, what final thoughts or word of encouragement would you like to leave with them, whether it's about continuing the fight for following your dreams and perseverance, or deciding that something is no longer serving you and you see a path that it could take you down, and making a choice to do better for yourself?
I'm fairly anal/analytic in the sense that if I see hard evidence, or if I make a list of all the good things or all the bad things that something is doing for me or what's holding me back or whatever, or possibilities. If I do this, here's things that happen. If I do this, here's other things that could happen. I remember doing these all the time, pros cons list. And I found that doing stuff that makes me happy, even if I don't want to do it all the time, is like, it's like Legally Blonde. Like, working out gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people don't kill people. Like, I find that a routine, like sweating every day, or doing one thing for my career every day, or doing one thing that actually 12-year-old me would say, good job, this is what you wanted and you're working for it. I find like solace in knowing that like I am my own crusader. And I think that eliminating factors that can make it harder for me to fight for myself, like being so I mispronounce my own name, makes that an easier battle to fight. Because like the amount of no's that you hear in Hollywood and in any industry, but especially like LA or the entertainment world, it takes a beating on your soul, because every no, you're like, well, why? Was it this? Was it this? Was it this? And there's never an answer. A lot of times you don't get feedback. Like, yeah, so I feel like I might have answered the question, but I also forget what the question was.
Well, the question was what word of encouragement would you like to leave? And I love that you gave some advice about what to, like, how to drive towards success and support yourself. You also talked about answering my question of, making what advice would you like to give to, make it, if you need to make a decision to take better care of yourself, pros and cons if you don't know.
I think Yara Sofia said it best, esce pallante, which means we move forward. There's also an Italian word from Eat, Pray, Love, attraversiamo, which means let us cross over. Girl, I've crossed over a lot in the bad way. So now I'm like trying to cross new streets into good things.
Yeah.
Like when a girl she's crossing over. Like that's when she's getting rotted and messy. Like that's what the crossover means in my head. So attraversiamo and esce pallante. Those are my 2 words of advice. And they'll make you sound fancy. Like you went to Olive Garden.
Yeah, I can't pronounce that. I'm going to have to, that's going to take me a little press.
Attraversiamo. I'm on Duolingo.
I'm going to have to watch this a couple times over.
Esce pallante.
That's easier. Esce pallante.
Esce pallante.
I still say it like a Southerner though.
That's okay. You're trying.
Yes. Willam, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And watch my YouTube channel. It's linked below, I bet.
Yes. Oh, it'll be
linked below.
It will be linked below along with all of your other links that exist. And
OnlyFans.
Do
you not do that here?
we
Foot Finder.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
No, I get plugged there. Cut the camera.
Oh my gosh. I can't.
Yeah, I'm not good at being serious.
I just I don't know anyone that has as many phrases. Like you're ready for like someone says a celebrity's name and you already have a funny phrase.
Kathy Griffin.
Introduced her at the Ford. Nice lady. Very hard worker.
Blake Lively.
I'm friends with her sister Robin. I did a movie. The girl that played Teen Witch.
Safe answer.
Great family.
Chapel Roan.
Chapel Roan. I am one of her 8 favorite drag queens with Bob, Kimchi, Detox, Sasha Colby, and Derek Barry.
Rihanna.
I was in her S&M video. And I worked with Rihanna during her redhead period, which was extremely iconic. Not many people got to work with her in a redhead period.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did I mispronounce her name?
Everybody does, though.
Yeah, everyone does.
Wow. I'm embarrassed.
RuPaul,
okay.
You know who didn't? RuPaul. And you know what that is? The end of this program.
Yes. Wait. Last one, RuPaul.
Can I do it in a joke?
You can do it however you would like.
Knock, knock.
Oh, who's there?
RuPaul.
RuPaul who?
Ooh, I'm going to tell you said that.
This podcast is brought to you by Promises Behavioral Health. If you or a loved one are struggling with trauma, addiction, or mental health, we are ready to answer your questions and help you take that next step. Call our admissions center at 888-648-4098 or visit us online at www.promises.com. Our team is ready and waiting to answer the call for help.